Hello everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 7a and see how this particular phone holds up in 2024. Now, the thing I will tell you about the Pixel 7a is that this is a very good phone. It's, almost like the perfect budget Google Pixel that Google could make. Just a few things to keep in mind though. This particular phone is going to see a successor fairly soon, probably this month we might see the Pixel 8a. But on top of that, another big thing to keep in mind with this particular phone is the fact that this phone price, it might make a little bit more sense to go and just buy the actual Pixel 7 over this particular phone, because the Pixel 7 is probably going to, be around the same price as this phone, so it might make more sense to buy that one over this one. So I'll go and leave some of those phones linked down in the description. You can get that from there, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Google Pixel 7a, on the front of this particular phone, you're getting a 6.1-inch OLED display. Now, with this particular phone, it's a good panel. It's a 90 Hz panel as well, so it's not terrible, and I do think Google did an overall good job with this particular phone. The panel itself isn't as great as the Pixel 7s. Those phones are giving you 120 Hz displays, but this one's still giving you a 90 Hz display, still very, very decent. You're getting this design, which I think is a little bit aged now, considering that Google has changed over to the Pixel 8 design with the rounded corners. This one had more of those sharper corners on the edges, and I do think this in and of itself can be one of the, downsides going for a phone like this. Like, if you're getting a device like this with its standard hole punch display and everything, it looks great. But the corners of this phone, they definitely don't look amazing, and it can kind of be a little bit of a downside if you're planning on picking up this phone. Again, like I said before, it's not like the biggest deal in the world or anything, but if you are planning on buying this phone, that's just one of those things to keep in mind, that this particular device for the most part, because this, device for the most part isn't really doing that well when it comes down to that. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's just literally just a design perspective when it comes down to that side. Now, you're getting a USB Type-C port, on the bottom, which is still very, very good. You can go and, use this phone as you normally would with all those USB Type-C accessories, which is still very, very nice. On top of that, you're getting, no headphone jack, micro SD cards, nothing like that, as we probably expect. On the back side, you're getting this plastic back, which is very interesting. So this in and of itself is actually a very, very interesting thing, because it's a plastic back. It did kind of feel like a glass back though, which was kind of funny. As soon as I picked up this phone, I thought it was a glass back, but it wasn't. And that in and of itself was another crazy thing. You are still maintaining though an aluminum side, which is really nice. So you can always go basically have this aluminum side on this phone, which is very, very nice, and it feels still like a fairly expensive phone. On top of that, you're getting this dual camera setup on the backside as well, which we'll talk about in a second. But overall, I'm a fan of the way this phone is held up from the body standpoint, and it still holds up very, very well in a majority of ways. So this in and of itself, is a very cool thing going on for this particular phone. So on the exterior of the body, it kind of does get a thumbs up for me for sure. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to wireless charging, like I said before, this phone, it is missing out on a few things. It does give you wireless charging, but unlike the other newer Pixels, it's not giving you reverse wireless charging, which in and of itself, again, can be kind of an annoying thing too, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. Price-wise, this phone, is selling for a couple $100s in the brand new market. It's significantly cheaper in the used market. On Amazon, you can buy it for $200 something, which is a pretty decent price to pay for a phone like this. But like I said, when you look at the brand new Pixels, like the Pixel 7, not a brand new one, but the used, Pixel 7, that one isn't that much more expensive than this device. And I would probably just recommend going down that direction of buying a used Google Pixel 7 rather than buying a used Google Pixel 7a, especially a brand new Pixel 7a. Those things can get a little pricey. It makes significantly more sense to buy something like the Google Pixel 7, in the used market than a brand new Pixel 7a. So that's another big thing I'd probably recommend just keeping your eyes on, because that in and of itself can be a reason why you'd want to go ahead and buy something like the Pixel 7 over the Pixel 7a. So just another thing to keep in mind. In terms of the camera side of things, this phone is still giving you a pretty decent camera. So it's a 64 megapixel wide angle lens, then a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera, and you're getting a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera on the front. Now you can do 4K 60 on the back and 4K 30 on the front, which actually is not that bad. So you're getting pretty decent resolutions you can film in, especially for a budget phone like this. I will tell you though, this camera is actually a decent camera for the price that you're paying. For a budget Google Pixel, it's not bad, and I do think this in and of itself is kind of a good feature going on for this phone, because you can easily just go ahead and buy it and have a pretty good time with it and have a decent experience with it. And I do think this in and of itself is actually a very, very cool thing going on for this particular phone. Again, it's not the most perfect phone of all time, but if I am going to go through and buy a phone, I actually do like this thing for giving me that type of capability of giving you like a pretty good camera. And inside of those like social media applications and those types of apps, this phone is going to be giving you a pretty good experience from that performance. It's not going to be perfect or anything, but it's going to be a good time. And I do think this in and of itself is a very cool thing going on for this particular phone as well. From the software experience, this phone is still supported with software, and it's still going to be supported with software for the next, however many years. I think it's going to last as long as probably something like the Google Pixel 7. So I think that's how Google plans on doing their software updates right now. And I do think that's a very cool and important thing to have here. So I do think this in and of itself is another very nice thing going on for the Google Pixel 7a. The fact that these phones are just going to last for a very long amount of time. And that's kind of the problem, I would say, for one of the biggest competitors against the Pixel 7a series, which is probably the Galaxy A series. Those phones typically don't last that long. And that is usually the problem that we kind of end up having for these types of phones. When we're getting a phone like the Google Pixel 7a, we might be saying that these particular phones are going to last longer than the Galaxy A series, and it might make more sense again to go and buy one of those devices rather than this one. So in this case, I think the Pixel 7a definitely wins in the software performance perspective. Now on top of that, when it comes down to the performance side, this phone is going to be giving you that Google Tensor G2 chipset inside with 8GB of RAM. Now, this in and of itself is a very good thing going on for this particular phone too, because you're going to be getting, as you probably would have expected, you're getting very solid performance from this phone. I mean, it pretty much matches in line with something like the Google Pixel 7, which is actually pretty crazy. So when you're going through and buying this type of phone, you're getting a phone that's going to be giving you a very solid experience from that particular perspective, which is something I actually like a lot. I love being able to buy a phone and have it, kind of give you this type of experience. And that is something that is beautiful going on for this particular phone. So take it as you will, but that is another really cool feature going on for this phone when it kind of comes down to it as well. And even the battery life has been pretty solid on these Pixel, A series, 4,385 mAh battery. That's another really nice thing going on for these phones too, because the battery life is, pretty solid. It's not going to be terrible. And I do think as you're going to get through and kind of buy this phone, it's another cool advantage of being able to go through and get a phone like this that's only going to get better and better throughout time. And the battery life has gotten significantly better throughout time as well, which is another really nice thing going on for this phone too. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you, I like the Google Pixel 7a. I like this phone. I think this phone is good, and it's held up very well throughout the last year that it's been out. My only thing is that when I look at this phone and I compare it against something like let's just say the Google Pixel 7, it doesn't really make any sense at all for me to tell somebody to go ahead and buy the Google Pixel 7a over the Pixel 7. They're like almost the same price in the used market, and a used Google Pixel 7 is much cheaper than a brand new Pixel 7a. So I would always recommend just going through and buying the used Pixel of that year rather than the brand new A series. And I feel that exact same way with this phone. The Pixel 7a is a great phone if you want to buy it in the used market, but if you can swing maybe a little bit more money, just go for the Pixel 7a. That definitely would make a lot more sense for me to recommend to people rather than this particular device. So from that perspective, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.